So.
Okay, you're muted. Muted again.
June, I figured I'd switch.
That'd be recorded.
Yeah, be good timing.
Oh, might be Jeff pulling.
Sessions, yeah.
Joey not here.
Just take it, please.
They're both at the end of the truck.
It was a case.
You'll come in
They
here.
both just swirl through.
You think I'm 3 minutes? I'm the 6 the same. Like 5 things I see on. There was one.
It is available,
Notice that you can't see.
even if it's blacked out.
Like, pink. Yeah. And so you got the lights. You gotta go for the intersection, like this way. Six, you know, which is my light? Kind of hard to say at 1 o'clock in the morning when it's raining. I drove. Man. That's where I stayed at was downtown.
So, doesn't seem to have perfect eyes. Yeah.
It's not.
So I was coming.
Pulled down.
One day.
He's here like, come do that. I'm like, what? He was raining, so I had, and all of a sudden my road turned like this and his road turned like that. And it's hard. Like, I mean. Yeah, to take my daughter.
You'll miss the next PC meeting.
Well, hey, y'all are flipping off the line.
I'm scared, Mom. All right, you can pick.
As far as I'm concerned.
Oh, wow. And they messing up the rotation.
Checking to see.
Wait a minute. Just randomly. That's it. My chair. My chair. My chair is right. In my spot. It's right.
I got man.
Sure.
Bob every two.
Myself. I took my spot.
Find Rabel along the way or?
So.
So I couldn't even find Joey.
We started. I saw some dude like parked out there in the drive lane, of the trailer, it turns out it was John. Did you say how back that thing in? Okay.
I did. I parked straight.
I thought you were gonna turn around and park longer.
I was trying to park in the corner so you can still drive through there.
Police station. Tried to go to True Value the other day and some guy had 6 spots. I'm like, really? Dude? Like, how rude. The corner over. Yeah, in the front. Yeah, man. I'm like, go park in the grass, man. It's like, that's free. My wife is like, I want Andy's. No. Not happening.
I'll drop you. I'll stop on 102, let you jump out.
I'll see you when you get home. It's not happening, man.
6:01.
If you look at what's
It's not
I
required.
ain't take the bar, but I have pretty long. Took a couple classes. Did stay the holiday.
I don't care. I'm gonna go ahead and get started this evening with the City of Centerton Planning Commission meeting, May 7th, 2024 with a roll call.
Winkle, Devin Murphy, Craig Langford, Jerry Harris, John Sessoms,
Here.
Ben Lewis, Tony Davis, Brandon Swoboda, and Safe
Here. All right, first thing on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from 4/16 of 2024.
Joey, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from 4/16.
Second.
Motion is second. Is anyone opposed? All right, next on the agenda is 2 ratifications of the admin approvals. There's home occupation, lawn care business and a home occupation. It looks like a jewelry making business. Any questions or comments from either commissioners or staff? If not, then I would entertain a motion for ratification of the admin approvals.
John, a motion approved, ratification of admin approvals as prescribed.
second.
Motion is second. Is anyone opposed? All right, under new business, we have 4 public hearings this evening. The first one is a conditional use. 2402, 680 Pacific LC. It's for a short-term rental. 680 Pacific Avenue. It is zoned R3 single family. And is the applicant here to give us an overview of what you're requesting?
Yes. Okay. This is Stephanie Kane, and I'm here to represent 680 Pacific Avenue. We purchased this property with the intent of creating a short-term, mid-term, long-term rental.
Diane, do you want to walk us through the staff comments?
Yes, this property is located in Featherston Village subdivision, phase 1. It is lot number 137. It's 10 acres and it is zoned R3 single family. And the reason for the conditional use is because she's wanting to do short-term rental, the long-term and mid-term rental. It's fine with the short-term rental, you know, like the Airbnb. Those do require a conditional use permit. And she did say that they purchased it, you know, for a rental property. It is 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, and could sleep up to 5 people. It did meet all of the public notice requirements. And we did receive 1 public comment that was included with you guys, with y'all's packet. It was received via email. And this property it is zoned the R3 single family, but they also have a PUD for this that has a minimum lot area of 2,800 square feet instead of the 6,000. Minimum lot widths are 35 and the setbacks are 37 feet in the front, 10 rear, and 20 on interior lots and 20 feet on exterior lots. That interior setbacks are 5 feet and exterior 20 feet. The surrounding uses are R3 single family zoning in Featherston, which of course they're surrounded by since it's within that subdivision. On the adjacent property directly to the east, so it would be right behind this property, is zoned R4 multifamily for the future Dunes at Prairie Valley apartment. The property can be accessed either from Kimmel Road there on the north or Walnut Road on the west. And all streets in Featherston Village subdivision are private streets. There are no sidewalks, but pedestrian trails are located at the back of the lots, and also they connect to all the green space within the subdivision. The home is connected to Centerton Water and sanitary sewer. 2 off-street parking spaces are provided with each home in the Featherston Village subdivision. Guest parking, thankfully for this home, is located directly to the west of the property on Illinois Avenue. No on-street parking is allowed in the subdivision because of how narrow the streets are and how close they are together. As Stephanie stated, she does live out of state, so she is using Pinewood Property Management to maintain the property and to screen potential renters and things like that, especially for the long-term and mid-term rentals. And short-term rental company will be used for the short-term, you know, like your Airbnb, VRV.
Our property management company covers
All of it. Yes.
Okay, they manage all the short-term, midterm, yes, and it takes into it, yes.
And the covenants for Featherston Village do not prohibit leasing or renting properties within the subdivision. And the rental agreement shall comply with any applicable laws and zoning requirements. For our special conditions, the term of approval is recommended for an indefinite period of time from the date of PC approval. But now if you do discontinue the use of this, then you have to reapply. For conditional use permit. All occupants are required to park in the 2-car driveway or the designated guest parking area. No on-street parking will be allowed. And at no time shall the total number of persons residing in single-family residence exceed the total capacity allowable either by fire or building codes. Of course, you must follow, you know, all the rules typical with short-term rentals also. And fire extinguisher shall be mounted in the home. So that way, since they're a public coming in and out, there's a fire extinguisher if necessary. ADA accessibility, applicant is encouraged to provide ADA accommodations, and the owner to accept liability if not ADA compliant. And this conditional use permit, like I said, is for an indefinite period of time or upon the discontinuation of the approved use and will require a reapplication and reapproval. Then the general conditions are the typical conditions that are included for a conditional use. If there are any complaints received from a neighbor or city personnel, this permit may be brought back to the planning commission for consideration of amending terms or revoking the permit. And like I said, we do have here is a picture, once my computer catches up, of the home.
So those are the smaller homes that.
Yeah, it's-
Jeff Roth built.
Yes.
They're small townhomes that are just individual, but real close to each other.
Yes, and this is one of the two-story. They have two-story and one-story. This is one of the two-story. And here's just kind of the information about, like I said, it is 2 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms. It's kind of some quick info on that. And the general floor plan where the bedrooms are upstairs and then all the living areas downstairs. Then, like I said, we did receive, I can talk about this when it is time for the public comment, but we did receive one public comment, and the issue that they have has been,
So what happened?
Yeah, is it caused from this property?
Well, the landscaping company ran over the sewer cap. And then there was probably a plumbing backup thing, and because the sewer cap was missing, and this is what I understand, and I am not an expert at all. I'm just gathering from the multiple conversations. It went out onto the lawn, which we were notified by our property management company. They met the plumbers out there both times. Centerton Utilities turned off our water, so we couldn't prove that we had repaired it. So it took a little while to get them to turn the water on so that we could prove that we had repaired it. I'm on a first name basis with those ladies, and they're very nice. I mean, y'all have been very nice. Again, the sewer cap has been repaired, Roto-Rooters repaired the plumbing. It's a brand new house. These things sometimes, I mean,
The neighbor?
this is a neighbor
yes,
next
this is
door.
the neighbors.
Yes.
Why did it take so long to get the repairs done?
Well, I would say partially just because they turned the water off and it's hard to repair leaking without water. And I couldn't get them to turn it back on until the inspectors had proven that it was repaired, and you can't really prove it.
Are you aware of what they say in this letter?
I am aware, sir.
Over a month, because you were arguing, somebody was arguing with the homeowners association?
There was, I think, initially with me, I didn't know, is it, who maintains the landscaping company? I didn't know if it was the POA that is, Real Clear Neighborhoods, or if it was the builder and the people maintaining the property. So that was a miscommunication on my part. I did, and I know what she's referencing, because anytime I saw a complaint, I'm like, look, we know about this, we're working with it, we're trying to figure this out. Like, I keep getting stories from different people. My guys went out and repaired it themselves, my property management company. I'm doing the best that I can. And I know that this seems like a very bad blemish on short-term rentals. We've been operating for a year. I did not know that we needed to have a permit. Our realtor did not explain that to us, and we knew that the HOA was okay with the POA.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any of the commissioners before we open it up to the public?
How did you figure out you needed to have a permit?
A police officer called me and said, we understand that you're operating a short-term rental. We need to complete an application. Yeah. Right, when we purchased the property, and I would think realtors in this area would know the laws. I mean, we told them what we were buying it for. I, and I'm not passing blame on anyone. I mean, obviously, I should have done more due diligence, 100%. That's my responsibility.
So those is Airbnb.
How long ago was this problem happening?
The problem happened in January and it was resolved in February.
And so it's repaired and working property now.
Oh, yes, we have a renter in there now. Along our mid.
Okay. Let's go ahead and open up to the public. So I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Tony, I'll make a motion to open up the public hearing for 2402.
Second, Joey.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, we're now open to the public. If anyone wishes to speak, have any questions or comments in regards to the conditional use at 680 Pacific Avenue, we'd ask that you come to the podium, state your name, address, and then any questions or comments that you might have. Second request for anyone that wishes to speak. And third and final call, and I will read the letter. So as you can see, looks like Rachel Ford reached out mostly about the sewage issue in regards to the not being repaired and some other things like that, and provided some of the detailed pictures that we see. If there's no other questions or comments from the public, then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for conditional use 2402.
Johnny second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? So John seems to think or remember that when we looked at this, that there were comments from the Roths that they wouldn't do short-term rentals in here, but
It was either Featherston or Featherston East. One of the two, the ones that abut each other.
Didn't they come back to ask for them
But they
all to be?
put in the conditional use to not be sold as Airbnb. Otherwise, they would have a lot of investment companies. It was supposed to be built to be affordable housing. And then not investment companies to come in and buy them and then rent them. Because that was one of the conditions we talked about.
That was a condition of.
I think that's what we were just told. I'm not sure it was a
I
condition.
thought that was part of the PUD though, that it was noted in PUD approval that those would be sold as individual homes and not.
That's what they came back for, to rent all of them.
the behind Walgreens.
Okay.
One of the, no, that's the ones behind Walgreens. These are bad to work for you.
Yeah, I know. I thought
When
it was
they came, their original intent was that they were to be sold to individual property owners. You know, especially try to get someone a starter home or someone looking to downsize. That was their intention.
But it's not part of any documentation.
They sold,
That was a
they
condition.
sold all of the lots, though. And sold the development.
I just wanted to make sure we're not approving something that we've already not approved, you know?
Not in the conditional use approval letter. Yeah, we'd have to go through.
It doesn't surprise me. I
I
mean,
think we were just told that.
yeah, okay, I'll just make sure we didn't
Oh,
approve something that was already negated, you know?
To be fair, they were sold. Right, this is second ownership.
Are there any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
Is there a fine for operating a business without a license for?
Not the first time. First time it takes stop.
If code enforcement issues a citation,
You usually get a warning.
I wish he'd issue more citations.
It's probably the warning that why they're here.
Yeah.
Says the lawyer.
She did come in, after she was notified.
Yeah.
Sure.
There are no other questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion for the conditional use 2402 for the short-term rental.
I got one question. You said it's indefinite. It's only for the owner though, correct? It does not transfer with the,
She sells.
if she sells it.
It goes with the property correct?
Well,
The
we can put
conditional use.
Conditions on it.
Why is it indefinite? Like, where did that come from?
So she doesn't have to come back year after year after year for years.
You can set a time limit for like 2 years, 3 years, right? You can't just say forever.
Yeah, if you guys so choose, you could set a time limit.
I can tell you, I mean, I'm just putting my thoughts out. I'm not in favor of an indefinite conditional use on this. Because of how quickly things are changing in our community and. So I'd like to put a limit on it. I don't necessarily want her to have to come back annually, but
What's your
I
time?
think
frame?
5 years, I think a 5-year permit would be sufficient.
I agree.
And then obviously with the condition that it's maintained well and there are not complaints, because that would bring it back to us.
That is correct. It is in there.
There's no garage, it looked like, correct? You fit 2 vehicles in the driveway?
Yes.
And there's no on-street parking.
It's, they built, they're the ones that built this.
They built the guest
But
park.
I'm saying I could see where that could go south in a short-term rental situation, meaning
There's more cars.
there's more
There are
cars.
only 5 people allowed in the home, so I wouldn't expect, I mean, it's only 2 bedrooms, but
There's visitor parking.
There's a parking lot, yeah.
Perfect.
Parking lot.
I'd say keep an eye on it. That's probably gonna be your biggest complaint. If something like that happens.
Yeah, so the reason that we ended up finding that there was short-term rentals in this subdivision is because people called us and said, hey, there's a few houses in this neighborhood that they have a lot of traffic generating. Are they allowed to be doing that? So.
But their HOA is not, doesn't have any
Correct.
condition against it.
Right.
That's how you find out about permits. Somebody called the police on you.
See what happens.
That works.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve conditional use 2402 at 680 Pacific. Short-term rental with a 5-year time period. And to follow all the conditions that were discussed and listed in this document.
Second.
Motion and a second, Samantha, if you do a roll call, for me, please.
Tony Davis.
Yes.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
Devin Murphy.
Yes.
Craig Langford.
Yes.
Barry Harris.
Yes.
Tom Sedlin.
Yes.
Jim Lewis. Brandon Swoboda.
Yes.
Jack Safer.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is a conditional use 2403 for Hales Fireworks. Fireworks stand at 190 Keller Road. It is zoned C2. It's 4.6 acres. The applicant here to just give us a quick overview.
I'm Daniel D'Artagnan with Hales Fireworks. We're here to get a conditional use permit to sell fireworks in the location we've been at for a long time.
Diane, this is yours as well.
Yes, this property is located at the northeast corner of Keller Road and Highway 102. As Daniel noted, this has been the site of their fireworks stand for many, many years. They had a conditional use that just expired in June of 2023. That was a 3-year conditional use, and they have been operating in the same area since 2017. And they are known highway commercial C2 intended for those businesses which cater to.
I thought it was before that.
And there's
That's the earliest I could find.
95.
That's the oldest I could find.
Adding that up on.
You add that matter to 3 years, like 3 years, it is.
Say 20 years.
Yeah.
For a very long time, they've been located.
All right,
Um,
on track.
The property is zoned commercial. Surrounding uses are agriculture to the northwest and south, and low density, single family residential R1 to the east and southeast. So we can kind of see his layout here. Transportation, you can access from Keller Road or Highway 102. Do people typically use Keller Road, Daniel?
Yes, the parking's usually on the other side of the T,
On this side?
the other side, the west side.
Okay, I had a brain lapse when I drew my picture. Apparently, I forgot my west from east. So the parking should be up here outside of the fire lane area that surrounds the fireworks tent. The tent will be erected after June 1st and taken down by July 10th. July 10th. The stand will operate from June 20th to July 5th. It's gonna be 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And the stand will be open until midnight on July 3rd and July 4th. So you can get in there by your last minute fireworks. And the signage, they will have 2 feather flags between the tent and West Centerton Boulevard and 1 banner on each of the 3 sides of the tent. And a sign permit will be required prior to putting those up from Public Works. And it is recommended that you guys do a 5-year limit for this conditional use. So again, they don't have to come back year after year after year. And obviously something y'all have done for a long time and assume you're going to continue with it for a while longer yet. Parking must remain outside of the required 12-foot fire lane, and no on-street parking is allowed on West Centerton Boulevard or Keller Road at any time. And we do ask for state licensing that the applicant provide to the city prior to the first sales date, a copy of any licensing that you have to have from the state for the sale of fireworks. And it will require a fire inspection by a fire marshal prior to opening the tent for sales. And also Building has requested that the property be mowed, the entire property, not just where the tent is going to go, to be in compliance with city code prior to erecting the tent. So that way it looks, because it is pretty shaggy out there right now. I did drive by there. It needs a good lawn mowing. And the conditional use permit, like I said, we're requesting that you guys do for 5 years and would require a reapplication for reapproval in May of 2029. Let me know if you guys have any questions. We haven't received any comments on this one.
Any questions, comments from any of the commissioners?
Are you good with the dates for the 5-year term? The dates that were listed? So
You come back in May
For 5 years.
29.
5 years.
well, that and the dates of operation, there was some.
Yeah, those are what he
Projected-
provided.
What?
That's what he provided.
Okay, awesome.
I think those are state generated, aren't they?
Yeah, the sales state was June 20th to July 10th. There to
We can only sell 1 day after each holiday, right? Yeah.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Craig, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for conditional use 2403.
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing. We are now open to the public. If anybody has any questions or comments in regards to the conditional use for Hales Fireworks at 190 Keller Road, we'd ask that you come to the podium, name and address, any questions or comments. Second call. And third and final call.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for CU 2403.
Second.
A motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is anyone opposed?
This is Joey. I'll also make a motion to approve conditional use 2403 Hills Fireworks as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Samantha, if you'll do a roll call for me, please.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Jerry Harris.
Yes.
Don Sessoms.
Yes.
Ben Lewis,
Yes.
Tony Davis.
Yes.
Brendan Swoboda.
Yes.
Jeff Safar.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Bet you in 5 years that barn's still there.
All right, next on the agenda is also a public hearing. This is for conditional use 2405 Ace Batting, the addition of outdoor lighting. It is at 8700 North Rainbow Farm Road, and it is zoned C3. The applicant here to give us an overview of what you're requesting.
Chairman, Commissioners, planners, my name is Ramesh. I'm the owner and representative of Ace Batting. It's your game. We went operational. We got our business license in 2022 October and renewed twice. And this is our second year of operation. We went into business on 6th of May last year. And this is the first year, we have done first year, and this is second year of the business. So during the first year of operation, we found that, the temperature in the summer was high, and the batting cages that we operate on accommodate baseball and cricket. And the heat, because of the heat and due to the low availability of sunlight after dark, we could not operate much, and hence we are requesting city to approve. Not sure how much you heard. You want me to?
You're fine. Anthem might come
That's
back.
for those in the back.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so with that experience, we are trying to help the kids who practice baseball and cricket after the sunset, and we are requesting for setting up some lights on the property on the batting cages so that they can operate after sunset.
Okay. Caleb, do you want to go through the staff comments?
So, the applicant is requesting to amend their original conditional use to allow recreational outdoor lighting. Their previous conditional use specifically prohibited the outdoor recreational lighting. Should the conditional use be approved, a minor site improvement application will be required to allow the work on site and to ensure that there's no bleeding on adjacent properties for those lights. For the applicant's narrative, they aren't expanding the number of players they serve, and they're not proposing any structural changes be made to the existing building. They're only requesting to be allowed to add the additional lights around the batting cages so that they can be used after the sun is set. For the zoning, this property is zoned C3 neighborhood commercial, which is primarily intended for convenience stores and services such as grocery stores, barbers and beauty shops, laundromats, drugstores, etc. The setbacks for that are listed in your packet for you. For the surrounding zonings and uses, directly to the north and east are zoned A1 and are undeveloped. To the south is the proposed Ambi Estates duplexes, which is zoned R3D with a proposed density of 5.83 units per acre. To the west, parcels are zoned RE and R1 and are being used as residential. Directly adjacent to those parcels is the proposed Daisy Road duplexes, which are R3D with a proposed density of 4.88 units per acre. To the southwest is Brookside Estate subdivision, which is R3SF with a density of 3.5 units per acre. On the site, there currently exists 1 indoor recreational facility, 10 outdoor batting cages, parking, and a residential home with accessory structures. At this time, the owner is not proposing to expand the current development or add on to any existing buildings. So they had an approved conditional use, which was approved in November of 2020 to allow an indoor-outdoor recreational facility because outdoor lighting was not, it was specifically prohibited with the original conditional use. An amendment is required. With this amendment, the general conditions of that original conditional use were reviewed to ensure compliance. So we can start with the outdoor lighting. You guys specifically denied that request to have outdoor recreational lighting due to the location of the development and the narratives that were previously submitted by the owner stating that there would be no outdoor lighting, and that was it was discussed during the rezone, and then during the conditional use, he said that he like outdoor lighting, but if you guys would allow that, then he would go ahead without outdoor lighting. So you guys said no outdoor lighting and suggested that that condition be revisited in the future. Just as a note, there are several 15-foot tall solar powered lights on site, mostly located around that 5-foot pedestrian walkway, the on-site parking and the dumpster. The location of the lights will be evaluated with the minor site improvement application where the proposed lighting does not bleed onto adjacent properties and meet all requirements. A photometric plan of the site will also be required with that minor site improvement. So based on the large-scale development plans that we previously had, the distance of the court from the adjacent property lines is about 95 feet from the north property line and 45 feet from the south property line. Staff recommends approval of the outdoor recreational lighting, as long as we can ensure that they're shielding and that light's not being a nuisance to the surrounding areas. And then going through a few of the other requirements from the original conditional use. There was the landscaping requirement, specifically they had landscaping on each side of where the batting cages were to help shield those batting cages. When I went out on the site, I couldn't find exactly where they had planted what was on the large scale, but there is some pretty thick shrubbery already on the site. And there are pictures included in your guidance packet of the on-site conditions. You can see that the landscaping along the property line. There was a special condition that set the hours of business from 7 AM to 10 PM on weekdays, and then 10 AM to 10 PM on weekends. And then that was also specifically on their development plans. For their parking requirements, they have to follow our standards, so 1 space for 300 feet of office. For the indoor recreation, it was 1 space for 200 square feet, and then 1 space per batting cage. So it was 11 parking spaces required. At the time of the large scale development, the indoor portion of the recreational facility wasn't counted. They were only supposed to be using the indoor for the bathrooms. I don't know if that is still the case, but the development is providing 14 spaces on site in front of the indoor recreational facility and 26 temporary spaces off site across the street. And that was approved with a minor site improvement in 2022. They do have a trash enclosure on site as required by the conditional use. And that trash enclosure is made completely out of wood, which was approved with the large scale development. And there was a specific condition that prohibited outside storage of materials. But when we went and looked on site, there was additional turf and equipment being stored on site. And the parking lot didn't look to be like it was being maintained. So we recommend a condition to require that outside materials be stored out of the public right of way view, and have the site generally maintained and cleaned up. And then for the adjacent streets, just as a note, it's along North Rainbow Farm Road, which is designated as a major collector with a right of way of 80 feet. And they did dedicate 40 feet of right of way with their development in 2021. At that time, no street improvements were required. And it was set that with phase 2 of this development, they would be required to finish those improvements, but we haven't gotten plans for a phase 2 development.
Stating it.
How did answer your questions?
Would something like this be considered a phase 2?
Typically,
If I remember, they mentioned that they made the property next to it build additional cages as phase 2, right?
there's a lot of property still.
Phase 2 was,
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
So the phase 2 was turning the indoor cages into, outdoor cages into indoor. We wanted to put a building on top. That was the phase 2 that was.
And I think I remember these coming through the first time that we said no to lighting because they didn't do a photometric plan. So they weren't sure, so we couldn't approve it without knowing what type of light will be there. So to make it approved for that night, we just said no lights.
Well,
So able to be approved, then light to come back, right?
there was, in the packet, there's a photometric grid in there.
It stops really high on the handle foot chart. It's not the whole site, it's just.
Yeah, it's not the whole
Yeah,
site.
that's yeah. As long as it wasn't any, I thought we were talking about that before. Like no stadium lighting, but stuff that shines down like a tennis court.
Well, part of what we had read is that because of the noise and with it being surrounded by residential and kind of quiet, we were concerned about the disturbance to anyone around. So we wanted to limit that, lighting and being able to use this facility after hours. After dark. So that was one of the main reasons why if you allowed lighting, then that would extend the hours to possibly. People didn't want to hear the crack of a bat or something like that also, or the light shining.
And we
Had any
we haven't gotten any complaints, but we did receive one comment from the public for this conditional use with the concerns about the lighting being a nuisance or the sounds after dark also being a nuisance, and that's in your guys' packet.
Just one, we are not trying to extend the hours. Initially, we got permission to have the,
Speak in the mic.
sorry. So we are not planning to whether extend the occupancy or the operation hours. The operation hours that we got initially was from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock. We are sticking. We are not extending it any.
Right, but right now you couldn't use the batting cages after dark, whereas if you put lights, you could use it, so.
Peak of summers, I mean, we can we run it until 9 o'clock. That is where sunlight is available. After that, we will.
Right.
So talk to me about the extra materials that are on the property that are not allowed without some sort of barrier, I'll call them.
We were able to procure some turfs that we want to spread it on the property. I had reached the office to whether I can spread the turf and would I need any approval. They said that spreading turf is not is allowed, and hence it was huge. I mean, these turfs are like about 3,000 pounds each, and they cannot be placed inside, and hence we had to. And during the winter, I mean, there is no operation. We shut down our operations in November, and since then we were there. And the skid steer that you see here is precisely for that reason. We are trying to spread the turf, which should be over by the next 4 weeks, probably 2 weeks, because that's where we have rented the skid steers. Yeah.
What's the additional turf for?
On the ground for warming up and for ground practice. When kids are, the soil gets loose, and then sometimes the groundhogs and etc. The soil is actually getting stuck. So we are trying to spread that so that they can safely do the warm up and ground practice.
You need 2 weeks, if I understood, for all of the extra turf to be gone, or at least laid down.
So the extra turf, I mean, to warm up, that's a lot of turf.
Well,
I'm just wondering if is he moving beyond his conditional use of the batting cages by adding this additional turf?
No, batting cages, in fact, we have reduced the number of batting cages. Earlier, there were 9 batting cages, but now we have only 6. We have made one big batting cage so that, it has more space in it.
And are you currently what are you using the indoor facility for?
Indoor facility, we are using for one batting cage, and that was also discussed during the planning. That, there was also an inspection done, allowing one batting cage, and we just put one batting cage inside.
So, but I thought that the conditional use was for that building was not for an indoor batting cage, but for restrooms only.
It was my understanding when the conditional use and first development went through, the inside wouldn't be used. And that's why we didn't calculate the parking for the indoor. We only calculated for the office space that's in there and the restrooms, and then the outdoor batting cages. So it was not my understanding that they were using the indoor yet.
There was additional request that I made, and there was also an inspector who came who basically said that just one batting cage is fine, and then we had to put that in place.
You have documentation on that, or he just came and told you?
I mean, the inspector
Well,
does.
the inspector doesn't enforce that.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah.
look at it. He doesn't know. He
But
just-
it was approved, I think there's it was approved for 10 batting cages, right?
Yeah, but there's 10 outdoor batting
There's
cages.
10 outdoor. I thought you just said there were 6.
That's what they,
This year, we merged 4 of them into one, so that they get more space inside, and they can basically see where the ball is going, because a confined batting cage, we don't know how much of a distance it's gonna travel, just to give a feel of, momentum on the ball. We merged 4 batting cages together. Oh, sorry.
And I will say, we do have a precedence, Legacy Sports, we made them do a whole minor site improvement to add their turf field, so.
They added a playing field, didn't they?
Yeah.
Not a turf.
they're gonna move dirt.
Was
We're just doing minor grading, but
outdoor lighting included on that with Legacy?
They did
not on the field. No.
They corrected the building though.
Right, yeah, I knew that. I remember.
Yeah,
I think this is the same.
they have a lot larger indoor.
They have two
They
buildings.
only do like Saturdays and Sundays, I think, on the field.
Yeah, but when you said corrected the building, I thought you meant like the outdoor lighting in the building needed to be updated or upgraded or something. Just for safety purposes.
Correct. He is just laying turf down over grass. A change or an improvement is what I'm trying to figure out.
I mean, there's,
They did some decent grading on Legacy, right? They built a berm.
They had to flatten it out and get it to drain because they used a larger area. I mean, you know, unless you're moving a lot of dirt. 'Cause obviously, as a homeowner, if you went and wanted to resod your lot or change your grass to artificial turf, would you need one either? No, but if you're doing a lot,
I was gonna say, like, what if I did this in my home, no one would care.
but if you did it where you're moving a lot of dirt, then you would need to at least go through the grading permit process. Public Works.
So just laying it down. It's okay, I guess, right?
I mean,
Is
where
he
you're,
expanding the use of the,
Right. is
of
the
what he's
question.
doing?
To me, that's the
That's what
bigger,
Brandon's
that's the
getting
bigger question.
How is it affixed to the ground?
Turf is painted, usually it's like do you have the 6 or 9 inch anchors? How do you anchor it?
There are no anchors.
Rolled out, rolled out?
They're just already done, because each turf is about 3,000 pounds, I mean, we can join, I mean, they do join them by assembling tape, but again, the weight itself is gonna hold it in place.
Just doesn't feel like we have everything that we need.
This is just for lighting, right?
It's just for the lighting, to amend to allow outdoor lighting.
But
I understand, but they're violating other conditions.
The current.
Conditional use.
So they're already in violation. Just asking.
Well, if you look at this site, there is some cleanup that needs to be done. So if you're having public come, I didn't feel like it was very conducive to public coming.
We are just coming out of the winter, and winter, it does happen that, we have not used the facility for almost like, 4 months. And during winter, the, asphalt does get water and, it develop cracks. And then, we have, in fact, the material to repair it is already on site. We have it in the schedule to repair it, including the asphalt. We have got the roller and everything is in place. We are just waiting for the weather to clear up so that they can stick. So, I mean.
So my concern also was the public getting from the parking to the batting cages. Because it was kind of like walking through a pasture. Is it usually maintained a certain way? For accessibility?
We have the lawn mowing company take care of it. Every Saturday morning, we do lawn mowing for the entire place. It is already in contract and
You also have here, for the applicant's narrative, Ace Batting is not expanding the number of players they serve. How are you guaranteeing that? Like you're just capping it? You're saying, I mean, how many players are you serving now and how many players are you? Because if you put lighting, aren't you expanding your business and expanding the number of players you serve?
No, the number of cages, because it is session based, a player comes and then it has to leave once his session is over. So the number of occupancy of the batting cages are not going to increase. So at any point of time, there are only 9 cages and 4 batting pitching machines. And each pitching machine is occupied by 1 person at a time. And then hence at a time, the number of occupancy are not increasing. But after the session, they go and another team or another player comes into.
You just, and you're not extending your hours, right? You're just trying to capitalize that last hour or so of in the day. Where it's dark.
That's what I was trying to.
I think it's how it's said.
Yeah. True. It's confusing.
I mean, yes, the simple math says that if you have 7 extra hours in a week.
Right.
And you have 6 batting cages, then you're gonna have more people,
Right,
if you will,
Right.
but not more than at one time.
right, okay.
Your-
Yeah, that's what's confusing about it.
Yes.
42 extra people.
And this is zoned for, commercial, what was it, commercial,
C3.
Residential.
So, so in these, if, let's say hypothetically that we had, that we were putting in a grocery store or barber shop or beauty shop, the type of lighting that would be there would be for pedestrian safety, correct? So it would be a calculated spreading around, and not a centralized lighting over the batting cage type effect. That be accurate?
I mean, unless it's a gas station.
Truth. That would be over.
Andy's. Yeah, light 'em
I'm
up.
just trying to see how this fits with so much residential around there going up and about to go up and even more go up. It seems like an odd fit.
I think you can make a play that it's, serving the residents, right? You could walk over
Yeah,
and
sure.
get some baseball.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think there's much change if the hours of operation. I mean, what's to keep me from turning my car lights on and hitting ball at 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
As long as the hours of operation are 9 o'clock. Doesn't matter if the light's on or off. I can still hit until 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
That's what you're trying to get, like that dust between 9 and 10 o'clock, right?
That's when, after 7, the, temperature gets starting to, get, comfortable. That's when kids are, happy to.
People are coming later in the evenings because it's hot. Right?
The city noise ordinance is at 10 PM.
That's what I was gonna ask.
I don't know offhand. I can look it up.
Mayor shaking and said yes.
10 PM. I figured that's why we
Probably
had it
could.
at 10 PM.
And
I mean, here's where I'm at. I'm okay with the idea of the lighting, but we need a photometric plan like it says. And what this conditional use is proposed is that you vote on whether you can approve the lighting or not with a photometric plan that would follow. But I think what we found is there could be some additional things based on the indoor use, based on maybe just show the turf area that you're laying out and any grading or anything that needs to happen to facilitate that. So as it's presented tonight, yeah, I think I'm okay with the conditional use, but if we want to spread the turf out, I think at a minimum on that site plan, you need to show where that turf's gonna go and then what sort of improvements you're gonna have to do to get it there.
But yeah, I think that it sounds like there's more being asked on this conditional use. Right? There are things being violated that need to be fixed. There are things that they're doing that.
Does that?
It's like more than just asking for lighting.
Yeah, does it warrant a revision to the conditional use?
You went down through the special requirements. I mean, the only one that I think would cause that is parking.
Parking or the
And we
indoor?
have an indoor and we don't have.
An additional practice area that's not batting cages, I'm sure the, throwing back, stuff like that, just practice area.
There is the additional 26 spots across the road.
26 across the road too, so they probably have enough.
I don't see that the parking would be an issue. I think
It's more the safety of the parking, I think, is.
Right, it needs to be cleaned up and
I
and
think
like the path that they show to access the batting cages. Is that even used or do they just go through
They just walk through the grass.
to the gate?
Some they go through, some, take a walk on the grass.
I think with all the development there, across the street parking is even more sketchy now with the additional traffic. So I think, yeah, at some point, we need to look at what he can handle on site, what he can handle off site, because I think you're setting somebody up to get an accident.
So I was gonna ask if if the cross street parking is lit anyway,
No.
10 o'clock, that's gonna be.
We do have lights there.
How often are you parking people across the street?
Very less. Last year, we didn't have any business at all. I think, we might have used it like very, less number of times.
What's the possibility of And I think that you had discussed this when you first came in, of this being indoors.
It needs a lot of investment, and at this point, we don't have have enough customers to use it. Yeah, but at this time, we are not yet ready to convert that, because once there is enough adaptation, then we will definitely can convert it, and that's the plan. That is what we are committed.
That was the original plan, though, was to eventually get it indoors.
Exactly. Once we are able to facilitate the facility, and once the training gets into a habit, I think we will have more clients, and when we have more clients, we'll be able to invest more and convert it to.
Are there any more questions or comments before we open it up to the public? Okay,
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to open up the public hearing for conditional use 2405.
second. Motion and a second to open public hearing. Is anyone opposed? We are now open to the public. If anyone wishes to speak or have any questions or comments in regards to the conditional use with the addition of the outdoor lighting, we'd ask that you come to the podium, state your name and address. Any questions or comments?
So I'm based at the project that is next to that property. We are building duplexes there. We are in the final phases of engineering design. So our concern is the same, right? It was indoor facility. It has not been converted to indoor. So what we are asking city is to consider on the timelines, right? What are the timelines to make it indoor, so that when the residents are there, they are not having to go with the light pollution and the noise pollution that does happen when people are out there. And we have listed all our other concerns in the point wise in the email that we sent to the city. Do I have to read that?
You don't have to read it. They have it in their packet.
Okay. Yeah, so what we are asking is city to, in a summary, consider the concerns of residents before making decision on this matter. Alternative solutions such as limiting operating hours, making an indoor practice field, which I think was the original ask, or relocating the and practice field to a more suitable location should be explored to mitigate the potential negative impacts on the residences and proposed residential communities around. There are other things city needs to consider, like parking, paving, and widening of roads, restrooms, and other needed facilities if the facility usage is increasing.
There anyone else that wishes to speak or have any questions or comments? And third and final call for anyone that wishes to speak. Then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I motion to close the public hearing.
Second. Motion in a second. Is there anyone that's opposed? Okay. I think a lot of what was brought up in the letter, again, that you guys have, of course, the light pollution is being, we have to review that, or I guess staff has to review it, and so there would be no light pollution. The 10 o'clock is in line with the city in regards to any sort of noise, if you will. I don't know that it starts in the morning. I mean, I guess I don't know if 7 a.m. is allowable. Is there a morning time on it, or is it just an evening time that 10 o'clock?
It never operated in the morning.
The construction starts dawn.
Sometimes before.
Hey, it's not
The
hot.
pollution says dawn. The noise ordinance.
And again, I mean, it's a conditional use, and if there are continued complaints, just so that you know, if there are continued complaints, then any person in the city can bring it to us for us to review any questions, comments, And then the conditional use can be either, canceled, if you will, or there could potentially be some, adjustments needed, in that. So you have to also understand that as part of the conditional use, is that is always the right of any citizen to come. So I just want to point that out as well. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
Just like to add one comment, this is on C3. So, I mean, I don't feel like any more invasive than any other uses that we would allow in C3.
Maybe even less in a lot of cases, right? If there's no other questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion for conditional use 2405 Ace Batting with the addition of the outdoor lighting.
Tony, I make a motion to approve CU 2405 Ace Batting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Samantha, if you'll do a roll call for me, please.
Davis.
Yes.
Ted Lowe.
Yes.
John Sessom.
Yes.
Gary Harris.
Yes.
Frank Langford.
Yes.
Devin Murphy.
Yes.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
Brandon Swoboda.
No.
Jeff Safar.
And I'm a yes. Thank you. Good luck. All right, next on the agenda this evening is a public hearing. This is for rezone 2404 Power Park. It is a rezone from A1 to R3 single family, R3 multifamily, and C2. It is located at 11609 West Arkansas Highway 72. It is 31.8 acres. How are you tonight? You just give us your name and quick overview for us.
My name is Dan Cole with Sand Creek Engineering. And what we have for you is a rezone with 3 predominant uses, commercial there along Highway 72. We have some high density residential, and also the predominant land use would be your medium density residential usage. All of the land uses are laid out in very close proximity to what you have in your comprehensive growth map. So we do feel that it aligns nicely with what you already have targeted for this particular area.
Kayla, do you want to give us a staff overview?
Yes, so these parcels are located along Highway 72, directly north of the Centerton Water Tower, and are on the edge of the Centerton city limits. As you can see on our map, everything that's white is Benton County, and everything that's got a color is in our city limits. So this is right on the outskirts. One of the parcels has an existing house on the property, including a septic system and several accessory buildings that would be removed with the development of the property. For the requested zonings, they're requesting R3 SF, which is medium high single family, which is intended for detached single family dwelling units. And this rezone would rezone 15.6 acres to R3 SF, so that's almost half of the land would be single family. The minimums for that area are listed in your packet for you. The next zoning is R3 MF, which is medium high density multifamily residential 3 to 4 units, which is intended for one structure on a single lot that consists of 3 to 4 attached dwelling units. This rezone would rezone 9.13 acres to R3 MF. And then the third zone is C2 highway commercial, which is intended to cater to the highway traffic such as service stations, drive-in, restaurants, motels, supermarkets, and similar businesses. And this rezone would rezone 7.21 acres to C2, and that's directly along Highway 72. For the streets, these parcels have frontage along Highway 72 and Walters Road. Highway 72 is a state highway with and it's designated as a major arterial with a planned right-of-way of 100 feet. On the master street plan, there is a NWA Heritage Trail called out on the master trails plan along Highway 72. That would be considered with the development of this property. Walters Road, this development technically has about 50 feet of frontage, just enough for a street on Walters Road. But Walters Road is a major collector with a planned right-of-way of 80 feet. There is a 10-foot shared use side path land along Walters Road on the Master Trails Plan. That is being built by the Pines Phase 4 across the street. But our section would still call for a 6-foot sidewalk on this side, but they only have 50 foot of frontage, so they wouldn't need to build a sidewalk. For utilities, there is Centerton water available along Walters and Highway 72. There are several water lines running along the south property line, connecting to the water tower, including a 36-inch water line for 2 ton and a 12-inch water line for Centerton Utilities. There is sewer in the area to connect the capacity allow for that area. For the adopted comprehensive plan, this area is designated for commercial along the frontage of Highway 72. And then essentially the rest of the property is designated as medium high density residential. So the commercial corridor is called to be consisting primarily of uses that serve both nearby residents and those coming from other parts of the city or region. Commercial areas are typically organized in a linear fashion along corridors or significant intersections. And the medium high density residential areas consist of detached and attached single family residential homes with a density of 7 to 11 units per acre. The attached single family residential can include townhomes or duplexes to allow for more flexibility and to build denser residential development in proximity to the city's major roadways. These parcels are located within Node 4 of the Growth Accommodation Plan, which states that in this part of Centerton, existing single-family subdivisions should be completed to utilize already platted land. Once those subdivisions are fully formed, additional single-family homes intermixed with well-designed duplexes and townhomes can be developed. Attached units should be constructed adjacent to the commercial uses in this area to transition to less dense single-family detached neighborhoods. And then these parcels are also located within Node 2 of the Economic Development Framework Map, which is described as a node of neighborhood serving commercial development, which should be established at the intersection of Highway 72 and Herbar Road, which this isn't exactly on the intersection, but it's pretty close. Additional retail uses north along Highway 72 are also appropriate upon establishment of a central node. Where lots are shallow or small, strategic parcel assembly may also be required to facilitate modern commercial development. New development should complement the scale and character of existing commercial developments and surrounding residential neighborhoods. So based on the goals of the land use plan, the rezone requests for R3 SF, which has a max density of 7 units per acre, R3 MF, which has a max density of 8 units per acre and allows different housing types to be built within that. And then C2 highway commercial is consistent. Zoning complies with the suggested density of 7 to 11 units per acre suggested by the land use plan and allows for flexibility in housing types as well as provides the commercial node called out in the comprehensive plan. For the surrounding uses, the surrounding zonings and existing uses, to the north and east are residential houses located outside of the Centerton city limits. To the south is the Centerton Water Tower, which is zoned A1, as well as residential houses located outside of the Centerton city limits. To the west is the Pines in all of their phases, and their units per acre are listed in your packet for you. So based on the variety of densities presented in the area, the zoning request for R3 SF, R3 MF, and C2 is compatible with the surrounding uses and zonings. I've listed quite a few different items from our comprehensive plan. For your guys' consideration, they mostly talk about providing different types of housing and then also targeting areas that call for the commercial nodes. Happy to answer questions.
I'd like to add, she mentioned that sidewalks would be required on Walters. It's 50 foot, the exact minimum, like the right of way width for a local access road, same as any kind of neighborhood road. They will have to put in the sidewalk there, it's purchase the ADA ramps.
Right.
Those are going to be required.
Thank
Which they know about.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yes, they're gonna connect to the.
They indicate the right away.
It's gonna be the ADA ramps.
Yeah.
And, what's the thought on the flag going north behind the high density residential? Is that a road?
That would be ultimately, yes, what that is estimated center line would be. So yes, it'd be right away that sliver.
Any other questions or comments before we open it up to the public? Then
No, we did receive one email.
I'll read it as well. So if there's no other questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Sean, I'm motion. Open public hearing. You? No. I'm sorry. It's John, I motion to open the public hearing for rezone 2404.
Motion and a second, give it to whoever you want. Is there anyone that's opposed? We are now open to the public. I'll read the letter real quick. This is from the Sherrill family, 911 Pink Lady Place in the Pines. And their concerns about the access to Walters Road. The fact that it's a narrow road, no shoulder sidewalks, it's dangerous for pedestrians. Bicyclists, including some blind spots. In reference to the schools that are south of there as well. References the fact that Schubert continues on with their development as the Pines. And just concerned about traffic. We are open to the public. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Have any questions or comments in regards to the rezone 2404, the Tower Park is what it's called. We just ask that you state your name and your address and then any questions or comments.
Ryan Foster, 11848 Lincoln Heath Drive in Mille, Arkansas. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Waterford Park POA as the president, and I'm here to speak on behalf as a homeowner there on Lake and Heath. We're the neighborhood that's just above the orange. Small one road in, we have to take care of all of it. That bad spot anyway. Our major concern not is the development of the land, although we miss the pasture and the horses. What we do, we are asking for is consideration of the multifamily R3 MF. We came when Schubert Mitchell was doing the Orchards Park just to the north of us, and they were suggesting R3 MF as well. We talked, you guys heard our concerns. We're able to say, listen, we're gonna stay with single family dwellings. We would ask for the same thing south of us. Because we do know there's also a little tract of land there that the coffee zone. So we just ask for single family, not opposed to the commercial, understand that it can provide some value. Concern that we do have beyond the development of it is the continued use of Highway 72. I've called the state department several times, highway department, asked them when are they going to do some traffic studies out here to help us with the volume of cars out there. They said there is nothing on the books for that. So I am concerned about that. So there's got to be some way to get out on Walter, but to get out on Walter, anytime you're there in the morning, especially during school dismissal in the morning or in the afternoon, it is full. And there are a ton of people walking up and down that road. It's kind of disappointing to see along Walter Road that there's not additional sidewalks to help move pedestrians down that road or anybody doing activities such as walking and hiking or biking. And so we would just ask as well that make sure that there's sidewalks that run up and down Walter to help accommodate the traffic flow, because a lot of people are trying to head north on Walter to get on 72 as opposed to go down Harbaugh and get on there at the corner. So again, not opposed to the development, but we would ask for a reconsideration of the multifamily there on the ends. It doesn't fit with the surrounding areas, and it's also not part of the orchards that was just. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Have any questions or comments in regards to the rezone? And third and final call. And then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
John, I motion to close the public hearing for 2404.
Motion is second to close the public hearing. Is there anyone that's opposed? Any additional questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we go through what we need to consider?
I just want to make sure this is consistent with the land use plan, or what I'm seeing on the map, it looks like it's not an anomaly. This is what was passed when we passed the land use plan.
It is consistent with the land use plan, yes.
Thank you.
If you look, in the packet, I think this is one of the first times I've seen everything consistent, but on page 4,
I just want to make sure I read that right.
it is aligned on a number of them,
Yeah, it
yes.
looks like Dan copied the land use plan.
Copy paste.
Yeah.
All right.
So the resident had mentioned that, gentleman mentioned that, there was a multifamily north of this or south of this that was denied or turned to a single family.
Orchard Park, that's on the north side, it's across from Big Sky, it's up on the north.
There was a request for a multifamily, but it got denied.
Duplex?
No, and
Sounds like maybe their stuff got their request was amended.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I don't have the history on it.
regardless, it didn't, well, it might have, no, the multifamily wouldn't have met the medium
Yeah,
density,
the
right?
multifamily wouldn't have met low to medium density. But R3, you really can't, if it's still R3, it doesn't matter if it's single family or multifamily, it's still R3.
To clarify, our R3 MF is up to 4 units.
Yeah, when Orchard Park was under development, there was medium density up there. But since the medium density was not allowed, it's now low density. And there was the request in the original plat that was shown to have medium or multifamily along the frontage. And towards the end, that was backing up against the neighborhood, against Lake and Heath. And then we asked for that to be reconsidered, and they came back and said, sure, we'll be happy to reconsider that. And pulled back from multifamily and stayed with single family.
It wouldn't have met R3.
I don't look for that.
Yeah, it wouldn't have met
Wouldn't have met R3.
Even
Well,
duplex,
no,
even duplex?
yeah, you can do duplex.
you can't.
Well, that's,
And thinking that they asked
It's
for
in the medium.
R3, and at that time, our R3 included single family, duplex, and multifamily. And so that was the issue on that front.
specified it.
Because medium goes into both now, but it didn't before. Right? It's low, medium, and then medium high. And medium is in both areas. It didn't before. It was just 1, 2, and 3.
Because our R2, it was considered medium density. And
Yeah.
that is where we still have the conflict with our comprehensive plan. Even though the title of our R3 single family is high density residential, and it's single family homes, and it's 6,000 square feet. And that, we call that our high density single family. Because we have low, medium, and high single family. But we also go into, it's, according to our comprehensive plan, it fits in with our median.
With the density,
We're talking about the R3 single family.
The R3 single family at
What's
60.
and go back over R3 multifamily?
Oh, R3 multifamily is up to 8 units per acre. So then you're getting into that high, on the bordering that high side. But then you go into R4 multifamily, and that's where you go up to 18 units per acre.
and none of those would have fit the. I don't recall that, but
I
I'm
don't
not
either.
saying it didn't happen, I just don't recall it, and
All I can remember is I think that they requested an R3, and at that time, we did not have it split out. So
So it
the
could have went.
concern was that it would allow them.
Mhm.
And has the code changed since the land use plan was adopted? For R3?
Well, yes, we have split out the R3s.
We don't do the single zoning with single family duplex or multifamily in the same number, essentially, right? We
Created a new zoning district for multifamily, which would be the apartment types.
to avoid that confusion.
And then the R3, there's single family duplex, single family with up to 4 units. that, so they're basically single family attached. So you can have a single family duplex or quadplex. Or triplex.
With multifamily, they don't own the lot, right? Well, single family.
They're single family attached, so they're not on their
Right.
own lot. So it'd be 4 units, up to 4 units on one lot. But in R3 and that they can do single family duplex.
No,
And
it
up-
can't be seen. And none,
In R3 MS.
yes, in R3 they can have it by your.
And what else?
So they can do single family, duplex, and up to a 4-plex. They can do anything in
If
that
it-
range.
If it's R3 MF.
They could always build lower.
Yes.
But right here, they specified single family, multifamily, and C2.
I think one of the biggest differences is how it aligns with the comprehensive plan versus not. If you just read the true definition of the way that it's put together, then it fits. And it's very similar to the development that's being built right now on 102, where they did the same thing. They did the commercial, multi, and then single so that it aligns. And it also aligned with that. So that's one of the biggest differences versus just kind of being over by itself.
Right.
Any additional questions or comments before we go through what we need to consider? The first thing that we need to consider is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan, if not, why? And as was stated and pointed out, it is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan. Does anybody disagree with that? Is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? And I believe that it is, with the mix of the commercial upfront and then of course your residential in the other surrounding areas. So I think that it is compatible. Does anybody disagree with that or have any questions or comments?
I think I would, just on the multifamily side.
I agree with it. I think it's consistent.
I would say, Jeff, that it's consistent with the way we normally see development. You've got commercial up front, mid to higher density behind that, and then lower density going back to that. That's the way it normally plans out.
That's how we've laid it out on the land use plan, but this just happens to be the first development in this chunk with the medium high density.
Which you should see more medium and high density around it eventually.
Around the commercial.
Yeah, around the commercial.
Yeah, that's.
Would all the permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and the surrounding areas? And again, I believe that the permitted uses, especially around the C2 that is designed to be neighborhood commercial, obviously businesses there that would support, the growing area out there. And of course, the other would be the residential. Does anybody disagree with that or have any questions or comments? Would the rezoning provide a benefit to this landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? And I do not believe that this is that this would benefit one landowner. We would go through the same considerations for each of the other properties in the area. Does anybody disagree with that or have any questions or comments? If the public is opposed, why? Are the objections based upon factual information relating directly to this request or opinion based? Does any factual information presented apply to this rezoning situation? The objections, I'll call them comments in regards to traffic. Again, unfortunately, no facts. I mean, yes, anybody that drives around anywhere in town understands that there is traffic. Keep bothering the state, please, because we need more of that. We were having conversations before the meeting about the corner. So definitely, traffic continues, in the city. Sidewalks, I think, Alan, you said this will be required to have a sidewalk along Walters? Is that?
I mean, when the ADA ramp ends, that's where the sidewalk would end anyway, because their property ends.
Okay.
I mean, they
Well,
have a
ADA.
80-foot chunk.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Done 5 years later, then have to sock on. Close to a new curb just to put the ADA in, so.
I mean, looking at it, it's definitely a legitimate concern on Walters.
yeah.
Because everybody's gonna go to Walters. You have a lot of residential there with the high school just south. And, I mean, I think that's something we should take a look at with this development and maybe future city plans to get something.
I'm just,
Walter gets busy. I used to take that.
yeah, it's definitely.
A lot of county owns.
And Mayor Bill, maybe this is one of those conversations with the schools, kind of like you were talking last meeting or two in regards to south around the school where they still had bus service. This is probably one of those areas where we need to think about that with the school system as well. Traffic sidewalks, of course, the multifamily, and I think that it's changed a little bit, Ryan, versus before. And again, with it being so close to matching up with the comprehensive plan, it just kind of fits in there a little different than possibly what it did in the previous submission. Just make sure there was nothing else in the letter that was pointed out. Traffic was the biggest concern in sidewalks. Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
And I like to say, this is just for the rezone, so they still have to come before us with the development plan. So if there's that, at that point, we can require any kind of traffic study that's needed, any kind of road improvements needed. All we're talking about right now is just a rezone.
Correct. If there are no additional questions or comments, then I would entertain motion in regards to rezone 2404 Tower Park. Again, the rezone request is from A1 to R3 single family, R3 multifamily, and C2 at 11609 West Arkansas Highway 72.
This is Tony, I make a motion to rezone, 24-4, Tower Park rezone from A1 to R3, SF, R3 MF, and C2 as shown on the plan, on the maps.
John, a second.
We have a motion and a second. Samantha, if you'll do a roll call vote for me, please.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Jerry Harris.
Yes.
John Sessom,
Yes.
Ben Lewis.
Yeah.
Tony David.
Yes.
Brandon Swoboda.
Yes, but with the request to see the MF change to SF.
Is that a yes or no?
Is that a yes or no?
No.
That's a no.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
Jeff Safar.
Yes.
Can't go both ways.
Thank you, guys. Good luck. Oh, Brandon,
I know.
it's all good.
It's why we're in America.
It's all good.
Difficult for difficult. Keep you on your toes.
All right. Next is Development 2210 Bush Road Homes. This is the preliminary plans and adjacent street agreement, Bush Road and Nottingham Lane. It is zoned R3, 1.84 acres, 14 dwelling units. The applicant here to give us an overview. Bill, how are you tonight?
Good. This is the project that we got approval from you about a year ago. One of the conditions of the approval was that you asked us to flatten out some areas in the open space, so we've done that. I think staff asked that it'll just be clarified that we've done what you've asked. On the west side, the west open space, basically a swale back behind there, we had those steeper slopes, but we've now flattened them out to 15% or lower, which I think we understand is the threshold, so. It's showing you how those grades have changed based on the original design that was approved. We're also asking for a 6-month extension on the plan approval. We're getting up to that date pretty quick here. I think we may already be there anyway.
It's May 16th.
Okay, 16. Anyway, we're virtually ready to ask for the pre-con. We had these few little It's an effort to not have to come back to you all the way again or start this whole review process again. We'd like an extension on the approval. And then we agreed to the adjacent street improvements, which is really just a trail, a 10-foot trail along Bush Road. That was never formalized in an agreement, so we've filled out that paperwork and just asking for you to authorize how we've written that up.
All right. Kayla?
Yes, so this preliminary development plan consists of 14 single-family homes on Bush Road. So they have a PUD that was approved by the Planning Commission on December 21st, 2021 for those 14 dwelling units and 1 detention pond. So the preliminary development plans were approved by the Planning Commission contingent on remaining staff comments on May 16th, 2023. However, the adjacent street agreement was not approved. There were some outstanding comments on the plans that are being addressed. At the time when I wrote this report, the slope of that west open space hadn't been hashed out yet, and we were gonna need clarification on what you guys meant. When you guys made your approval contingent, it was contingent on them smoothing out those slopes, but you didn't really define what that meant.
It was up to you to
Yeah,
interpret what.
we worked it out.
Well, it's fixed now.
It's fixed now.
Yeah, see, that was the intent.
Okay, and they are requesting a 6-month extension of preliminary approval because as they said, that is coming up in the next 2 weeks. Revisions have been made to that adjacent street agreement to address all staff comments and no comments remain. So for the PUD, when I got my hands on this, I went back to double check that they met all of their PUD requirements. So on their proposed PUD, they actually didn't meet that 15% slope requirement. More than 50% of their proposed open space had a greater slope than 15%. But we've since corrected that issue, and now the majority of their open space is 15% slope or less. So they meet that requirement. So in your packet, you can actually see I added little snippets of what that grading looked like on the west open space and what it looks like now. So it's much more leveled out. So now the only part of the open space that's greater than 15% is right around the pond on the east side. So now their open space is a bit more usable. Other than that, their adjacent street agreement, a lot of it didn't change. It was mostly just clarifying. They're not doing anything additional to Nottingham Road. It's already built out. It's a private road that was built with
Westridge Village.
Westridge. And it's gated, so they're not messing with that road at all. There are no additional improvements required. Bush Road is also already built out, 32 feet back a curb. They're just adding a 10-foot trail and dedicating 10-foot right of way to meet the master street plan requirements. And then they're adding street trees and street lights as shown on the preliminary plan. So they just have a few minor things they need to add to the plan, such as there's an existing street light on the corner of Bush and Nottingham that needs to be shown on the plans. And then they just have some minor labeling to correct. So items for your action would be approval of the adjacent street agreement, and then you guys want to approve a 6-month extension of approval for the preliminary plan.
Right there.
Oh, it's not on the actual site plan, just on that exhibit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the trail.
Yeah, so, yes, so this is just an exhibit that was showing the green space and the slopes of it. The actual site plan in the development plans shows that 10-foot trail, but it doesn't show the street light on the corner.
It just goes there between the right of way and the storm sewer.
Yeah, it's right.
So, Bill, part of your pond over here to the west is, you have to do something there. I don't know if it's a retaining wall on the backside where you're picking up that water coming down and around. You got your pond, yeah, right there. If the trail's going through there?
No.
No.
The trail is just along Bush Road. There's
No.
no,
Trails on the right of way, in the right.
Just a little bit,
it's
sorry.
right there.
Gotcha. We're good then.
Ultimately.
It'll be steep off that back of that trail though.
There's a good bit of green space between that pond and the trail.
You're just saying that it's steep off the backside.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's pretty steep. know if that would,
That's a culvert going into the road. It's not going up.
it's going,
That's the grade it needs to be in order to get water to flow.
speaking of water, so
Pond.
This
It's
all
not in
the,
the trail.
the culvert is north of the trail on the west side of the road.
yeah,
They're collecting all the runoff from the back of the homes and getting it to the pond.
question, what happens to the runoff west of the grading? Does it go, it just goes out over the curb and into the street?
Yeah.
Doing what's existing.
Yeah, he's through.
Picking
A
out,
surprising amount you will actually get collected into that. Once it's built. A lot will go into that culvert.
half of it.
Cool. Any other questions or comments? If not, then I would entertain a motion for development 2210 Bush Road Homes, preliminary plans, adjacent street agreement. And a 6-month extension of the preliminary plan approval.
Joey, I'll make a motion to approve development 2210 Bush Road Homes. Open space was shown to be corrected. This also includes a 6-month extension of the preliminary plan approval and the adjacent street agreement as presented.
There's a second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is subdivision 2305, Brise subdivision. Adjacent street agreement and fee in lieu of approval. It's at 1601 Plymouth Street. I can pronounce it however I want.
ABC.
By golly. How do you pronounce this?
Pronounce it Parisi.
See, all you wrong.
That's an Arkansas.
All y'all wrong. All y'all.
Jeez, keep us on track. What is your name?
Addie Mundy with Bates and Associates.
All right, Addie, what are y'all looking for?
So we came back from the dated meeting, but we had some conditions on the original street agreement and we made those revisions and we have resubmitted. A list of those revisions are improvements to the north portion of Bliss Street, kind of the connection between the two subdivisions. It looks like it wasn't connected, so that's what we're proposing the fee in lieu for. Then also the adjustments to street lighting within the subdivision, and that's mainly what I can recall that we added. Is that right?
Also the pond.
And the pond, correct. Fencing around the pond, just to include that as well.
All right, Kayla, do you want to walk us through the staff comments?
Yeah, so this is another one where the preliminary plans came to the planning commission in October of 2023. And the preliminary plans were approved contingent on some comments, but the adjacent street agreement wasn't approved with it. And when I was going back through the plans to see what still needed to be addressed, it was noted that there was a portion of the curb on the north side of Bliss Street, which is Morningside, that hadn't been built yet. The Morningside built Bliss Street out. That development that comes in is supposed to finish the road out. But because of the way Bliss Street drains in that specific 40-foot strip, adding curb and gutter right now would mess with the drainage, and Alan can elaborate. So Alan suggested that we do a fee in lieu for the curb and gutter, one drainage box, and about 40 feet of drain pipe. For that to go in later. And Alan can elaborate on that more if needed. So there are a few adjustments to the adjacent street agreement, just clarifying that and clarifying what they were doing. I remember vividly in this meeting, Joey and Alan went back and forth about a radius on Bliss Street and about it having to be smoothened out. That radius is basically non-existent now because on the previous plans, Bliss Street was actually being narrowed, like 18 feet wide, which is definitely not what we want for a major collector. But that has widened back out to meet the existing road of 23 to 24 foot pavement. And then just minor stuff like showing on the south side where it's red now that that's gonna go in the future. And if you go up to the north, making sure the sidewalk, they are building the sidewalk to connect Timber Ridge. And you can see how it jogs like that, and it jogs like that because Timber Ridge only dedicated 25 feet of right of way. Their sidewalk is in a vastly different spot than this one. So it was just minor corrections like that. And then the only thing we needed you guys to weigh in on in terms of plan changes was there is a pond on this site and there is not a 5 foot maintainable space between the sidewalk and the pond. So we want to request that you guys require safety fencing around that pond so that it can still be safe for the pedestrians walking. But per the drainage code, you guys have to make that requirement, so. They've shown it added to the plans, but you guys have to be the final law there. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
Slope on the, between the sidewalk and the pond.
Any plans in there? I don't know the exact slope, I just know that the pond is like 8 feet deep.
Between the sidewalk and the pond?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's 3 to 1.
Yeah, correct. It would be 3 to 1 from the sidewalk to the actual pond.
You guys opposed to the fence or not?
It's definitely more costly, but we understand because it is so close to that sidewalk.
Does it have to be a fence? A fence would look kind of funky. Right?
So the option is, I mean, it's just a fence, a barrier for the safety. You guys can say if you require that it be wrought iron and there's specifications, if it's wrought iron, what it looks like. But if it's just a, say, privacy fence or otherwise, it's fine if you don't put a requirement on it. The worry with privacy fences is if kids go in there and play, no one can.
Sure. Well,
We wouldn't.
what about just a rail?
Yeah.
Like a two,
Some kind of barrier, it doesn't have to be a fence, does it? Some kind of.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the only thing that specifies if you require a fence and if you require it to be wrought iron, there's specs for wrought iron.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing how it's written. Otherwise, there's no specification to it.
Yeah, I have the section in your guys' packet. It says, at the discretion of the planning commission, a developer may be required to install fencing around the perimeter of a detention basins or any drainage facilities. Fencing criteria will be determined by the planning commission. If wrought iron fence is required, said fencing shall meet the following standards, and then the standards are in there.
How tall is that wrought iron fence?
Wrought iron, bar at 4 inches and a bar at 5.
It's gonna extend above that, right? So it's gonna be 6 feet.
Might be flat on the top, you don't know. Doesn't have to have pokes on top. It just says a bar at 5 and a bar at 4 inches.
All it says.
It says the top brace of the fence shall be a minimum of 5 feet from the ground. The bottom brace of the fence shall be a maximum of 4 inches from the base of the fence. The bars of the fence shall be a maximum of 4 inches apart.
It's written back.
I think like
Yeah, rail.
yeah, or
Yeah,
even like
less.
a
Not less of an eyesore.
even wrought iron, but just, you know, however tall that, what's that minimum? 30? No, that's the drop.
For what?
Rail?
36, maybe.
Is it gonna act as a handrail?
It's gonna act as a barrier to keep people from going down into the pond,
3 foot's low.
is it?
3 foot would be like a handrail height.
Yeah.
3 foot's not for a divider height.
I mean, we're just trying to keep people from going up in there, right? Falling.
I'd say 3 feet. Even like a typical split rail or whatever, the metal version, they're at 42.
Rails at 42.
Yeah. I mean, what about like a wrought iron fence that just not full height? I
Yeah.
think that would look a lot better.
I think so, then.
And I think that meets the intent of the code. I think a 6 foot fence, what are you laughing about?
It can't be a fence, there's specifications. Call it a
Okay,
rail.
railing?
It's a barrier.
Barrier.
It's just barrier, just
Barrier.
change the barrier. Yeah.
So we'll leave that up to you.
So you want a barrier, are you requiring that it's wrought iron, whatever this barrier is?
Minimum 42 inches.
Cool.
Wrought iron?
No, 42 inches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Some kind of barrier, if it's right
Some
on
kind
there,
of
piping or
visible-
steel pipe or
yeah.
whatever. I mean, it's
This is for safety purposes, right?
it's to keep people from falling into a ditch, which
And to
keep the sidewalk into a ditch.
Yeah.
That's at a 3-to-1 slope, so it's not like that.
Right, you're gonna roll down the.
8 feet deep.
8 feet deep, so. It's a long way to roll.
I think they're gonna be rolling on purpose if they're rolling. Those kids are gonna slide down that hill quick.
If you're riding a bike around there, though, you're gonna catch the handlebar on that, dude. You might wanna offset it a few feet.
Maybe they should allow the 5 foot granite.
I mean, if you're off the sidewalk, you should have been on the sidewalk.
That's still a very big pond, not to have some type of safety rail.
It's not wet pond though.
It's been, there's storms.
Are you
Yeah.
typically out on the sidewalk when it's raining?
Look, these slopes make.
That's who you are, I suppose.
I was this weekend.
All right.
I just think the intent is some kind of barrier.
Yeah.
All right.
Question. The red stuff shown, there's the offsite curb on the west side, Plan West.
So that's in front of the adjacent property they're not putting in,
Right.
but had them show it, because that's what aligns with how it placed the sidewalk and.
Sure. I wanna have them show the full improvements on the plan though, with the storm box and the pipe, cause I haven't seen that shown anywhere.
So they aren't gonna do any of those improvements, because the only storm box is gonna be on the north side.
I understand.
You look at it, that area is a low spot and kind of water ponds there, it's killed the grass. So if they put curb in, did it to do the actual expansion, we ended up causing a drainage issue.
I understand.
The only way to drain that,
If you're getting a letter of credit or a fee in lieu,
you can't go due west, so
it should be shown on the plans, whatever it is.
the fee.
Yeah, they can show it in red. The sidewalk going south, Plan South, is that, they said that was future, is that also being included?
That's future, it's not part of the fee in lieu.
That's what I was saying, that's the adjacent stuff that's not being built, but how it's designed to align with Fox Haven.
We're just showing it for alignment?
Yes, because they kept putting it further forward or back to where it would have a weird jog tie into Fox Haven. So I just had them extend that line, but on the previous submittal, it was the same
That's not a
shade.
weird
So
job.
she thought they were building it.
Gotcha. Cool. Is that all we needed to discuss?
And if you guys are okay with the fee in lieu estimate, it was approved by Alan and Public Works.
What's the plan on that, Alan? To let that other property develop to tie into something?
Yeah, so the only way to get that to actually drain would be once you put that there on the north side. You can't go due west, there's nothing to tie to, no ditches, nothing there to drain. So when they develop that property between this one and Fox Haven where the red is. They can build the box that would tie into this, and there's a box right at the edge of Fox Haven that all this would connect to. So with their plan would, their fee in lieu includes the box and the pipe to take it from that northeast corner of Morningside and Bliss. Across to whatever box that next one would build, that'd be offsite.
Does that mean we would just be missing gutter?
We're just missing gutter then.
Yeah, right now Morningside, when they built it out, stopped there. And then I don't know, east of Morningside.
When's the last time the city's gone back in and used the fee in lieu of money to build curb and gutter?
Great question.
In the last 5 years, how many times have we spent money to go back and build curb and gutter? We get all this money in fee in lieu of, and then, like here, if we don't do it now, I know it's a drainage issue. But curb and gutter across from it, And then below it, you're gonna have curb and gutter, you're gonna have a missing section. It's the same thing that happened on the subdivision, the road we just talked about earlier, just north of west.
But if you build it now, you're going to create a drainage
I
problem.
understand that, but I'm just saying in the last 5 years, when's the city went back and built curb and gutter when we collect this money?
I know Fiendloo's sidewalk infill that wasn't put in. Curb and gutter, not so much, because there's not as much of that infill where there's the gaps. Usually, the whole thing isn't curb and guttered, so.
I mean, this one's.
So what are you?
I'm not just simply talking about this, but I'm just saying we can
Just asking.
4 feet.
No,
below
That's a
the
good recommendation.
curb and gutter.
I think it's a great.
We never get curb and gutter, so it's kind of like. At some point, you just had to say everybody builds to the standards.
We do that as much as we can. I know some of the fee in lieu we got for another one we're using now with Featherston to build that out. With, get the curb and gutters, what ties in, what I say.
Well, you just said Featherston.
Yeah, so Kimmel Road's getting the infill for curb and gutter from the fee in lieu being utilized now. We're getting a fee in lieu that we're using, and we're gonna do that to help build SEBA when it develops. So further west,
Oh, okay.
where it's dirt, when all it's getting paved, we're doing some of that infill there. So there is some being used, but it's. as of now, we don't- we
Not
can
to get
utilize
done,
it.
I'm just curious, because
But-
there are gaps, if
The
you
only-
live in the city, there are a lot of gaps. And then we're just creating more and more every time we do this, so.
Do you have a recommendation though, of like what we could do, what can be done different?
I think his recommendation is when it makes sense, you build the improvement.
Build the road, you build the
I
curb.
mean, it's kind of like catch-22, like, you can't just say there are issues like this where it's missing, but then we don't go back and build it. But build it where it makes sense, but then you have gaps, so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, but it more than likely would be a developer's agreement with the people developing right there, and we just pay them to do it while they're building the other one.
Yeah, we give them the extra money that costs to build that section out.
So a lot of times it's not us.
That's what I'm saying with the fee.
I like, yeah, I didn't know that.
Well, I'm saying with the fees we're using now, like with Featherston or Kimmel Road, is here's the fee in lieu you received. We gave them the money
Oh, cool.
to account for the cost that they're doing while they're there with all the rest of it.
Like this one, when this development next to it, you would pay attention, like, oh, there's a gap, here's the money.
You're saying when they develop to the west?
If that homeowner on the west side develops, it's the only way this gets built. Otherwise, you can't drain it.
Could be 20 years. But it's there.
Are there any other questions or comments? If not, then yes, I would entertain a motion for subdivision 2305. Say whatever you want.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve subdivision 2305. What did we call it? Parisi?
Breezy.
See?
Subdivision. With the, what do we call it? A barrier around the sidewalk and the pond, to be open and metal, we'll say. And then we had the adjacent street agreement, offsite, the fee and the. Did I miss anything?
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, under other business, Mayor Bill has an announcement.
I do. Oh. Hey, I just wanted, y'all were talking about RDOT, I just wanted to let y'all know on, this project out here on Highway 102, 279 and 102B. They are gonna have another public, hearing or another public meeting in this building. It's coming up on, Thursday, June 6th. And for you guys, public officials, it'll be 2:30 to 3:30. Then everybody else from 4 to 7. This might also be a good opportunity. I've been working on that, try to get we've got several roads making on the project, not just 72. We got Main Street, 279, 102. Actually, it's pretty irritating. We pushed this project back 2 years. We all came down here just not too long ago. We all talked about that. But, what they do, they have a it's called the State Improvement
state transportation program step. Trying to get some program in. Also have Northwest Regional Planning working with us too, trying to get several projects in Northwest Arkansas, not just ours. A lot of growth here. But anyway, I just want to let you know about that public meeting, so.
Thanks, Mayor Bill.
And everybody can find out.
Anything else from staff?
Well,
Well, go ahead.
I mean, as far as the Title 15, we are supposed to receive a final draft this Friday.
Next week,
Friday.
week from Friday.
I'm so confused. So,
All good. Okay.
so hopefully we'll have that. We have some things that we need to respond to on it. Of course, we're working. Getting in, but we're trying to do a lot of catch up too. Some things, so. We're just-
We have 2 planners now? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, we're, I'm looking to hire another one, but I've only had 1 interview, so, no, 2 interviews so far. so.
There's a council meeting on the 14th. Our next planning commission meeting is the 21st. Again, if you can't be here, just let us know.
I won't be here.
I mean,
We're just gonna cancel.
and,
You mean, it's fine.
other than that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Gosh. Give it to whoever you.
Give it to Devin.
He was motion a second. Is anyone?
Sitting on that. I would say a word.
5 minutes
Ago, I'm sitting on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
He'd be